My name is Lauren, and the day I realized I wasn't a daughter but a wallet was the day everything changed. They didn't ask if I could help. They told me I would, that I owed them. But what they didn't expect was that I'd finally stop saying yes. Before I dive into this story, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. The sun was barely up when I pulled into my parents' driveway in Maplewood, New Jersey. I'd only agreed to this breakfast because my mom insisted it was urgent. Family decision, she'd said on the phone, which was never a good sign. The smell of cinnamon rolls and eggs hit me the second I opened the door, but my stomach stayed tight. Something was off. Dennis, my adoptive father, was already at the table with his newspaper, barely looking up. My mom, Marilyn, was plating eggs with mechanical cheer. I slid into the seat across from her. So, what's the emergency? She didn't waste time. We need you to pay for Amelia's education, she said without a trace of hesitation. I blinked. Come again. Her university in Paris. Tuition, housing, travel, it's not negotiable, Dennis added, still hidden behind the paper like he was reading sports scores instead of dismantling my bank account. I stared between them. You're joking, right? You both know I'm still paying off my own student loans, and Amelia's not even. You owe this family, Marilyn snapped, eyes narrowing. Without us, where would you be? It landed like a slap. My breath caught, and I searched their faces for a hint of irony, a laugh, a just kidding smile. Nothing. I thought I was your daughter, too, I whispered, the words clawing up from somewhere I hadn't visited in years. Marilyn scoffed as if I'd said something ridiculous. Don't be dramatic, Lauren. You are family. That's why we're trusting you to step up. But you're not asking, you're telling me. My voice cracked. Do you even hear yourselves? Dennis folded his paper with excruciating calm. Amelia has a future. She needs this opportunity. And I don't. I pushed back from the table, heart pounding. I gave up so much for this family already. Do you remember how many nights I stayed home to babysit her while you were at fundraisers? Or when I skipped prom because Amelia had a fever and you couldn't miss the gala? That was your choice, Marilyn snapped. No, that was you needing a sitter, I said, standing now, the heat rising fast. Dennis's voice was cold. You wouldn't even be here without us, Lauren. You think you get to turn your back now, after everything we gave you. Everything they gave me. I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. You didn't adopt me out of love. You adopted me because you wanted a good deed to brag about. And now I'm just a walking tuition payment for the daughter you actually care about. The silence after that was cavernous. I grabbed my keys. Marilyn's voice followed me, slicing the air. You'll regret this. I didn't turn back. I walked straight to the front door, my steps loud on the hardwood floor, and slammed it behind me, hard enough to rattle the frame. Let that be the sound they remember. I didn't cry in the car. That surprised me. I drove back to my apartment in near silence, letting the chill of late autumn keep my windows cracked and my emotions frozen somewhere beneath the surface. But the moment the front door clicked shut behind me, everything cracked open. I leaned against the wall of my hallway like the weight of my own history had just hit me full force. No noise, no yelling, no dishes clinking or laundry tumbling or Amelia humming while she braided her hair. Just me, and this aching, hollow quiet. The living room lamp cast a soft, yellow glow across the apartment. My coat slipped from my shoulders and pooled on the floor, but I didn't bother picking it up. My legs took me, almost without thinking, to the dusty photo shelf above my desk. Framed snapshots of birthdays, Christmases, dance recitals. There was one of me and Amelia in matching pajamas, grinning under the tree. Another of me holding her science fair ribbon while she beamed like she had cured cancer. I had stayed up until 3 a.m. gluing that volcano back together because she'd spilled grape juice on it the night before. I ran my fingers along the glass frames, eyes burning. In every picture, I'm just slightly behind her, always holding the prize she won, always smiling for her, like I was hired to play support staff in my own family. I dropped onto the edge of my bed and let the tears come hot and ugly and shaking. The kind you can't cry in front of anyone, not even your reflection. It wasn't about the money. Not really. It was the audacity, the casual cruelty of assuming I'd be fine with financing Amelia's dreams. The way they didn't ask, but assigned. Like I was a task on their checklist. Lauren will handle it, because she always does. I stared at the ceiling as the memories poured in, one after another, like someone had kicked over a box of old tapes in my head. Freshman year, skipping the dance because Amelia had the flu, and Marilyn was already dressed for her charity gala. "It's not like you had a date anyway," she'd said, laughing. I'd stayed home and spoon-fed soup to a coughing 8-year-old until midnight. Sophomore year, I spent my allowance on school supplies for both of us because Dennis had forgotten to order Amelia's binders and didn't feel like making another Target run. Junior year, I wrote Amelia's essay for a summer arts program because she was panicking and couldn't figure out what to say. She got in. No one thanked me. I thought if I kept giving, they'd see me as part of the family, not just someone they brought in when Amelia was 2 and needed a big sister. I thought maybe love was something you earned, but maybe they only ever wanted someone who'd say yes. I wiped my face with the sleeve of my sweater and sat up, looking around my tiny bedroom. Everything in here, every piece of furniture, every book, every bill was mine. Bought with paychecks I'd earned, working long shifts at the library and tutoring center. And still, they looked at me like I owed them, like I should be grateful. They said, "Where would you be without us?" But I had a question of my own. Where would I be if I had been treated like a daughter instead of an investment? The ache in my chest pulsed sharper at the thought. I got up and opened my dresser drawer, pulling out an old journal from the back corner, the one with the fabric cover and frayed edges. It still smelled faintly of vanilla from the drawer sachet Amelia had gifted me years ago, back when I thought her affection was real, unfiltered by our parents' expectations. I flipped through the pages, landing on an entry from years ago. Amelia cried when Mom yelled at her today. I took the blame for the broken vase so she wouldn't get grounded. She hugged me after, said I was the best sister ever. I hope she remembers that. I let the journal fall closed in my lap. Did she remember? Or had she let that version of us fade the same way our parents had turned me into a donor line on a spreadsheet? Outside, a car passed by on the street, headlights slicing across my window blinds. The moment felt suspended, like I was sitting inside the quiet before a storm. The thing about storms, though, they clear the air. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do next, but I knew this. I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. I wasn't going to keep rewriting my past to make it more palatable. I had been loved conditionally, and I was done paying the price for their version of love. The next morning started like most. Quiet, coffee brewing, sunlight spilling through my tiny kitchen window in faded gold. I had just sat down with my laptop to sift through work emails when a knock startled me. 3 short taps. I wasn't expecting anyone. My stomach dropped. I opened the door to find Dennis and Marilyn standing on my front step, of all people, smiling like we hadn't fought at all yesterday. My mother cradled a brown paper bag of groceries like some kind of peace offering, while Dennis gave me a practice nod. "Can we come in?" Marilyn asked brightly, like she didn't remember the way her voice had sliced through me less than 24 hours ago. I didn't move. "We brought a few things," she added, holding the bag higher, her tone deliberately gentle. "Your fridge must be empty." I blinked. "What are you doing here?" "We just want to talk," Dennis said, brushing past me without waiting for permission. I was too stunned to stop him. Marilyn followed, setting the bag on my kitchen counter like it was her home. "Organic produce, and that almond milk you like." It was so surreal, I almost laughed. They were staging a performance. The caring parents scene. As if they could guilt-wash what they'd said yesterday with a few avocados and a faux concerned tone. "I told you how I felt yesterday," I said, slowly closing the door behind them. "Nothing's changed." Dennis opened my cabinet like he used to when I lived at home, pulling down 2 coffee mugs. "We just want what's best for your sister," he said evenly. Marilyn nodded, sitting at the table like it was her throne. "And we don't want this rift between us. Families fight, Lauren. You've always been sensitive." I bit my tongue so hard it hurt. "Sensitive. I mean that with love," she said, smiling like it could soften the blow. "You've always taken things too personally." The phrase sat like ice in my stomach. She continued, undeterred. "You've come so far, honey, and Amelia's still finding her footing. It's only natural that you'd help her. That's what sisters do." "No," I said sharply. "That's what you expect. You decided that I would fund her life because it's easier than asking her to work for it. Dennis sipped from the mug, now full with the coffee I had just brewed for myself. Lauren, he said, we've supported you for years. You had food, a roof, education. I stared at him. That's what parents are supposed to provide. You're not a child anymore, Marilyn said. You're successful now. Amelia isn't. She's 24, Mom, not 12. Marilyn's eyes flared at that. Don't speak about her like that. You don't know what she's going through. That was it. I took a breath, a long one. Then I stepped forward and placed both hands on the table, leaning in slowly so there was no confusion in my voice. If you ever show up here uninvited again, I said, my tone level but cutting, I will call the police. Dennis froze. Marilyn blinked fast. I mean it, I continued. This is my home. You don't get to guilt your way in, dump a bag of groceries, and erase what you said to me yesterday. Marilyn scoffed, standing up suddenly. You'd really go that far. I already have. This is your first and only warning. Dennis put his mug down, quietly, like he'd just realized something dangerous. We're just trying to talk. No, I said. You're trying to win. I opened the door. Neither of them moved. You really want to cut yourself off from us? Marilyn asked, her voice tight now. You'll regret pushing us away. I already regret not doing it sooner. The air hung thick between us. Their fake warmth faded now, their smiles replaced with a cold, evaluating silence. Finally, Dennis took Marilyn by the arm. Let's go. She hesitated, her eyes searching my face for a crack. But I didn't blink. They left without another word. I closed the door behind them, slower this time, no slamming, just solid finality. And when the lock clicked into place, I let myself breathe again. My hands were still trembling, but not from fear, from relief. I had held the line, no screaming, no tears, just a boundary, clear, absolute. I sat back down at my kitchen table, the coffee still warm in my cup. My laptop screen had gone black. An email from Amelia had popped up earlier, subject line. Hey, can we talk? I hadn't opened it yet, but something told me. That would be a different conversation entirely. It was just after 3 in the afternoon when the knock came. Not loud, not rushed. 2 gentle taps, more like a question than a demand. I peeked through the peephole. Amelia. She stood on the other side of the door, bundled in a camel-colored coat, her dark curls tucked into a knit beanie. In her hands, a paper bag from our favorite pastry shop and her worn gray backpack slung over one shoulder. No makeup, no fake smile, just Amelia, quiet, cautious. I hesitated for a beat, then opened the door. Her eyes flicked up to meet mine. Hey, she said softly. I leaned against the frame, unsure whether I was more irritated or heartbroken. Hey. She held up the pastry bag like a peace flag. Almond croissants, still warm. I didn't say anything. Amelia glanced down, shifting her weight. I'm not here to argue or beg, I just wanted to talk, if that's okay. I exhaled, tension easing slightly. Come in. She stepped inside and immediately scanned the space like she was stepping into a memory. You rearranged the books, she said, nodding toward my shelves. Looks nice. We settled into the couch in stiff silence. She placed the pastries on the coffee table but didn't open the bag. Her backpack thudded softly to the floor. I didn't know they were going to ask you like that, she began, eyes fixed on her gloved hands. Ask, I repeated. She winced. Okay, tell, I didn't know it was gonna be like that, I swear. I studied her. But you knew about the money. Amelia nodded slowly. Yeah, I knew they wanted me to study in Europe. I didn't know they planned to dump the bill on you. You didn't ask who'd be paying, I asked, unable to mask the bitterness. She looked up finally. Lauren, when do we ever get to ask anything in that house? Taché. She reached for the bag and pulled out one croissant, setting it gently on a napkin, then pushed it toward me. Still warm, she said again. I didn't take it. She bit into hers, chewing slowly like maybe it was a delay tactic. Finally, she swallowed and said, I came because I wanted to say I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. For letting them use you, for not stopping it when I could have, for not noticing. My walls wavered just for a moment. It's been happening for years. She nodded again, slowly. I know. We sat in silence for a while, just the hum of the fridge and the distant sound of children playing in the apartment courtyard below. And for a minute I remembered what it used to feel like between us. Easier, like real sisters. Do you remember the camping trip to Lake Winoka? She asked suddenly. I blinked. Yeah, the raccoons got into our snacks. She smiled faintly. You woke me up with a flashlight and whispered like it was a secret mission. We ended up hiding under the picnic table and eating all the marshmallows so Mom wouldn't find out. I laughed despite myself. You had chocolate all over your face. And you took the blame for the missing s'mores. Amelia smiled. You always covered for me. Silence again. Then, softer. I'd never ask this of you, not like they did. But I do need help, Lore. There it was. I looked at her, not just the girl sitting in front of me, but all the versions of her I had known. The messy little sister, the drama queen, the shadowed teen, the one who once slipped notes under my door saying, I'm scared of storms. Come sleep in my bed. Why now? I asked. Because I'm scared, she whispered. I'm scared of going overseas alone. I'm scared they're lying to me, too. I'm scared that I've built my future on a lie I didn't catch in time. The croissant sat untouched between us. I thought about all the times I wanted her to choose me over them, to see me, to ask how I was doing without needing anything in return. This wasn't that moment exactly, but it wasn't the same old manipulation either. I'm not doing it for them, I said slowly. Amelia's eyes glistened. I don't want you to. I finally took the croissant. It really was still warm. She pulled her knees up onto the couch, just like she used to when we watched Saturday morning cartoons. Her voice was barely a whisper now. I don't even know what real family is supposed to feel like anymore. I looked at her, and this time I didn't see someone spoiled or weak or complicit. I saw my sister scared, bruised by the same people, just in different ways. Maybe, I said. We figure that out together. She nodded. And for the first time in years, I let my guard drop just enough to believe that maybe this wasn't the same story all over again. Maybe we were about to write something new. We stayed in that soft quiet for a while, curled on opposite ends of the couch, knees tucked under throw blankets like we were kids again, hiding from thunderstorms and imaginary ghosts. Amelia eventually pulled 2 mismatched mugs from my cabinet and made hot cocoa on the stove the way I liked it. No instant mix, just milk, sugar, dark chocolate, and cinnamon. She even remembered the tiny pinch of sea salt. I didn't tell her that detail had stuck with me through every lonely winter. We drank in near silence, letting the steam fog up the distance between us. Do you still have that box of old postcards? Amelia asked suddenly, eyes lighting with something innocent. I nodded. In the closet, bottom shelf. She jumped up to retrieve it, nearly tripping over the edge of the rug like she always did when she got excited. She was still clumsy, still barefoot, still my sister somehow. She returned with the shoebox in her lap and peeled back the lid like it was a treasure chest. Oh my God, she laughed, holding up a glittery dolphin postcard from Atlantic City. You made me write this to myself. I grinned. You were homesick. I thought if you mailed yourself a postcard, you'd feel brave for surviving the trip. Amelia stared at it, blinking fast. I did feel brave, because you said I could be. We sifted through years of vacation scraps and childish handwriting, mini biographies of family road trips, beach days, theme parks, and science fairs. Some were signed with our names in sparkly gel pen. Others just said from your biggest fan. I forgot how much I adored you, Amelia said softly. I glanced over, her words hitting harder than I expected. I guess I just got so used to Mom and Dad treating you like a backup generator, she added, swirling her cocoa. Like if I couldn't do something, you would, so I let them lean on you and I leaned with them. I stayed quiet, the cocoa turning lukewarm in my hands. I didn't realize how heavy it must have been, she continued. Carrying all of that. I nodded once. I carried it because I thought maybe. If I held everything together long enough, they'd love me the way they loved you. The words slipped out before I could decide whether I wanted her to hear them. Amelia's breath caught. Lauren, I waved it off, shaking my head. Don't, it's not your fault, it just was what it was. She studied me for a long moment, then said quietly, You were always the strong one. I used to wish I could be more like you. That stunned me. I had spent my whole life feeling like the shadow to her spotlight. You seemed so sure of everything, she added. I was always scared of being alone, of failing, of not being good enough, and you just kept going. I swallowed hard. If only she knew the number of nights I sat on my bathroom floor, hugging my knees and telling myself I was lucky just to belong to someone. Amelia leaned her head on my shoulder. I'm terrified to leave home, she whispered, even if I don't really know what home is anymore. Her honesty was raw, unfiltered, and it made me ache. I'm gonna help you, I said, but not because they told me to, because I want to for you. She didn't reply, just sat there, eyes closed, cheek resting against me like we were 10 and 15 again, hiding under a shared blanket during a scary movie. I could have told her the truth then, that our parents never planned on supporting her tuition, that this whole thing was a long con Lauren pays and the family smiles for the Christmas photo. But I didn't, because in that moment she looked peaceful. And for once, I wanted her to believe the world might just be okay, even if I had to carry a lie a little while longer. The next week unfurled like a memory I wished I'd had in childhood. Amelia and I fell into an unexpected rhythm, one where the tension lifted a little each day, and the air between us grew softer, easier. We shopped for winter coats in Soho boutiques, flipped through travel-sized skincare bottles at the pharmacy, and laughed over bubble tea when she nearly dropped her passport into a cup of mango slush. I'm not cut out for adulthood, she groaned, shaking her head at herself. How do people remember everything? You learn, I smirked, handing her a passport sleeve. Usually the hard way. It felt almost like a real beginning, or maybe a rewrite of the past we never quite got to live. There was no one else with us. No Marilyn watching like a hawk. No Dennis muttering about practicality. Just the two of us, drifting through the city like sisters on borrowed time. At a cozy consignment bookstore tucked between a nail salon and a vape shop, we ducked in from the wind and lost track of time. Amelia disappeared into the travel guide section while I browsed fiction. When I turned to find her, she was curled up on a footstool, thumbing through a well-loved guide to Berlin. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, her coat bunched awkwardly around her knees. She looked up at me, holding the book to her chest. Promise you'll visit, she asked, voice small. I sat beside her on the floor. I might just move in with you, she smiled. Yeah, I'll sleep on the floor and annoy you by alphabetizing your spices. I don't even cook, she laughed. Then I'll alphabetize your toothpaste. That made her laugh so hard she snorted, and a guy in the poetry aisle gave us a sideways look. It was silly. It was stupid. It was perfect. For a few moments, I almost forgot what our parents had done. Almost forgot that underneath this sweet nostalgia, I was hiding a hard truth. That Amelia thought this trip, her future, her dreams, all of it were being made possible by the loving hand of her family, not by me, quietly pulling savings from an emergency account I never imagined touching. She had no idea I'd sacrificed a down payment I'd been building for years. No idea our parents had promised me nothing but guilt and silence in return. And I didn't tell her, because this piece felt fragile, and I didn't know what would shatter if I told her the truth. After the bookstore, we wandered into a tiny cafe with fogged-up windows and uneven floors. The barista wrote Lori and Meals on our cups after overhearing our giggles, and Amelia said it looked like a 2002 rom-com title. I still can't believe I'm actually going, she said, stirring cinnamon into her latte. Like, I know I wanted this, but I didn't think it would happen. My throat tightened. It's happening, I said gently, and it's all because of you. She squeezed my hand across the table. I know you said it wasn't for them, but still, thank you. I gave her a small smile. I didn't know how to answer. Back home that night, Amelia spread her new coat across my bed and held up a bright yellow beanie. Do I look Euro chic or like a traffic cone? I grinned. Both. She laughed and threw a pillow at me. Later, when she was in the shower, I opened my budgeting app. Again. The tuition wire was scheduled for the morning. I had enough to cover it, just barely. The screen glowed in my hand like a dare. I told myself it was worth it for her, for us. For the chance to finally choose each other without anyone else's agenda. But a small voice whispered, "What happens when she finds out the truth?" I didn't answer. I just shut off the app, set my phone face down, and climbed into bed. It had been a quiet evening. Amelia had gone to her friend's place to say her goodbyes, and I was finally alone, truly alone for the first time all week. I brewed myself a cup of peppermint tea, curled under a blanket, and opened my budgeting app again. Not to torment myself this time, but just to check. Confirm. Breathe. The tuition transfer was complete. Her flight was booked. Her coat, her beanie, her visas, her hotel for the first week, all of it done. No one had swooped in to help. No surprise contributions from Dennis or Marilyn. No, you know what, Lauren, you've done enough. It had all been me. I sat in that quiet validation for a long moment, staring at the screen. And then a knock, sharp, 3 raps, not Amelia. She texted when she was downstairs, and not a neighbor. My neighbors didn't knock like that. This was intentional. I rose slowly and crossed the living room, pulse flickering faster. Through the peephole, Dennis. And just behind him, Marilyn, of course. I didn't open the door, not right away. But I did look them dead in the eye through that narrow glass and waited until they blinked first. Then I cracked the door just enough to make them wonder if it would close again. Not a good time, I said. Dennis stepped forward like he still had permission. We need to talk. Then send a letter. Marilyn's smile didn't touch her eyes. Don't be like this. We just want to check in, make sure you're not backing out. And there it was. No groceries this time. No almond milk or fake concern, just the agenda. Dennis crossed his arms. You've already made the arrangements, right? I said nothing. Marilyn's voice dipped, low, cold. Because if you're thinking about changing your mind, Lauren, I wouldn't. We'd hate for Amelia to find out the real reason you were adopted. That landed like ice water down my spine. I stepped fully into the doorway now, every muscle going still. Excuse me, I said, voice calm but razor sharp. Marilyn leaned in. You think she'd want to know what you came from, that you weren't exactly the miracle we made you out to be. Think about what that would do to her. The air thinned. Dennis added, you wouldn't want to ruin her life now, would you? Not after all the progress she's made. I looked at them, really looked at them. And for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel obligated. I didn't even feel surprised. I just saw them. 2 people so addicted to control they didn't know what to do when someone told them no. You want to tell her, I said, stepping back. Go ahead. They blinked. Tell her everything, make it as ugly as you want. Just remember this, you're the ones who raised me. So whatever I came from, you made me into who I am now. Marilyn's lips tightened. Dennis shifted uncomfortably. And if you think for 1 second that you can use me, manipulate me, and threaten me into submission again, I added, you haven't been paying attention. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I'm not scared anymore, I said. Do what you want, but stay off my doorstep. This is your final warning. And then I shut the door, not slammed, just shut. Like a decision, I waited, a long silence. Then footsteps. No voices, no knock. They were gone. I leaned against the door, heart hammering. But with something like power, not fear, I didn't cry. I didn't break. I'd said the one thing I never thought I could. Do what you want. I'm done being afraid of you. And I meant it. That night, the apartment was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. The kind that presses in from all sides and makes your thoughts echo louder than they should. Amelia had texted earlier. Just a photo. Her suitcase laid open on my bed, filled with half-packed sweaters and travel adapters and a stuffed lion I gave her when she was 7. No caption, no emoji, just trust. And now, while the city hummed beyond my window, I sat in the dark, curled into the couch like I used to after bad days in high school, arms around my knees, phone glowing in my hand, too wired to sleep. I kept opening the banking app, closing it, opening it again. The transfer had gone through. Everything she needed was paid for. All I had to do was nothing. But my fingers hovered over the screen anyway, poised like I could undo it. Like I could reclaim the part of me that still wondered if silence was really the safest choice. Was I protecting her, or just too scared to lose her? Because once she knew what our parents had said, what they'd done, that they'd treated me like a checkbook and her like a prize I should be honored to sponsor, would she still look at me the same? Would she still trust the warmth we just rebuilt? Or would she see it all as part of the lie? I scrolled through our old texts, little strings of emojis, half-finished jokes, screenshots of Taylor Swift memes. We were silly together, sometimes dumb, sometimes deeply tender. And somewhere in all those years, I'd started to believe that even if no one else had really loved me, Amelia might have. But now, with the truth buried beneath croissants and airport checklists, I didn't know what that love was built on. A buzz lit up my phone. A message from her. Can't sleep. Leaving in 2 days and my brain won't stop buzzing. Also realized I don't know how to pack toothpaste for international travel. Help loudly crying face. I smiled at the screen, but it didn't reach my chest. She had no idea what kind of war was happening just a few rooms away. No idea her mother had stood in my doorway just hours earlier and tried to blackmail me into submission with twisted stories and veiled threats. No idea I was still shaking from the effort of not screaming. I typed a reply. "You'll be fine. Toothpaste is universal, so is forgetting it. That's what airports are for." Then deleted it, typed again. "I've got a travel kit for you. Don't stress. You're going to be amazing." That one I sent. But once it was gone, the guilt hit harder. I wasn't just shielding her from their poison anymore. I was keeping her blind. And maybe that was starting to feel more like a lie than protection, because she hadn't asked me to carry all of this alone. They had, and I had accepted. Another hour passed, too. The streetlights outside flickered. A siren screamed and faded. And still I sat there. No answers, just questions and silence and a bank account with one less dream in it. The thing about doing the right thing, it's not always clean. It's not always satisfying. Sometimes it just leaves you sitting in the dark, asking yourself over and over, what did it cost me to keep her safe? And will she still love me when she knows the truth? By morning, the city was already bustling, but I felt like I hadn't slept at all. The circles under my eyes were darker than usual, and my chest still carried the weight of every unsaid word from the night before. I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts again, so I texted Naomi. "Me, you free?" "Coffee," her reply came fast. "Naomi, always, your cafe or mine." We met halfway, at this quiet little place we loved downtown where the coffee was strong and the baristas remembered your name without ever asking for it. It had mismatched chairs and slightly crooked art on the walls. I loved it there. It felt honest. Naomi was already seated when I arrived, 2 steaming cups in front of her. She looked up and took one glance at my face before nodding. "Okay," she said, sliding my cup across the table. "Hit me." I didn't start right away. I stirred my coffee slowly, watching the swirl of cream and cinnamon. "They came to my apartment," I said finally. Naomi's eyes narrowed. "Dennis and Marilyn," I nodded. She took a slow sip, letting the silence hang. "And let me guess," she said. "It wasn't to apologize." "They threatened to tell Amelia something twisted about why I was adopted," I said quietly. "Said I'd regret backing out." Naomi blinked. "And I didn't fold," I said. "I told them to do whatever they wanted. I shut the door." Her expression didn't change, but I saw the pride flicker in her eyes. "Good. But then I couldn't sleep last night," I added. "I kept thinking about Amelia, about what I'm keeping from her." Naomi leaned in. "You mean the fact that you're the one paying for everything?" I nodded. "I haven't told her, not about what they did, not about the way they planned it. She thinks this was her dream, coming true because of the family." Naomi tapped her nail against her coffee cup. "Can I ask you something?" she said gently. "Of course." "Why haven't you told her?" I hesitated. "Because I don't want her to feel like she owes me. I don't want her to think I did this just to guilt her into staying close." Naomi tilted her head. "That's not all of it." I looked down. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "That she'll be angry, that she'll feel betrayed, that maybe this whole sister thing we just rebuilt will fall apart." Naomi reached across the table and took my hand. "She's not your enemy," she said. "She's your family." The words hit like a gust of wind through a stuffy room. "I know you've had to survive in that house with barbed wire around your heart," Naomi said. "I know you were taught that love had a price tag, but Amelia isn't them." My throat tightened. "She's not the one who raised you to believe you had to earn your place. She's not the one who used your kindness as currency. And you keeping this from her, that's their game, not yours." I sat with that, because she was right. Naomi squeezed my hand. "Don't punish Amelia for their poison. She's your family, too." The coffee had gone cold, but I felt warmer, lighter, like maybe I wasn't as alone in this as I thought. The night before Amelia's flight, I came home to find her in the kitchen, humming softly and balancing a tiny box in one hand and a card in the other. She looked up with flushed cheeks and glitter in her eyes. "Surprise," she said, holding up the box like a trophy. "I got you something." I blinked. "For what?" "For everything." She set it on the counter. A tiny white bento cake sat inside, decorated with lavender icing and little stars piped along the top. In wobbly lettering it said, "To my sister who made the stars feel closer." I felt the breath leave my chest. Amelia grinned nervously. It's cheesy, I know, but I saw it on Pinterest and I wanted you to know that I see what you did, even if you don't say it out loud. I swallowed hard. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Then she handed me the card. Her handwriting was round and messy, like it hadn't changed since we used to pass notes during long car rides. Lauren, I don't know how to thank you. Not just for the money or the help or the forms or the reminders, but for still seeing me as a sister, even when I didn't act like one, for staying when I didn't deserve it, for never using what you gave as leverage. You're the best part of my life. Love you forever. I stared at the card until the words blurred. Don't cry, she said, laughing as she dabbed at my cheek with her thumb. You're gonna mess up your makeup before dinner. Right, dinner. Our parents had invited us out. A farewell meal. One last family toast before Amelia flew off to start her new life. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe they were ready to be decent. Maybe they wanted to make things right. I went to my room to change, heart still heavy but full. I pulled out the navy wrap dress I wore for goodbyes, the one that made me feel elegant and grounded at the same time. I just stepped into my heels when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Marilyn, just 6 words. Don't come. It's for real family. I stood there frozen. The light from my lamp glinted off the phone screen. My pulse roared in my ears. I read it once, twice, 3 times, but the meaning didn't change. They didn't even want to pretend anymore. After everything, after I'd paid, after I'd bled quiet love into their mess, they still saw me as the outsider. The backup plan. The donor. Not a daughter, not family. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. The dress pooled in my lap like spilled ink. My hand shook as I opened the airline app, scrolled to Amelia's itinerary, hovered over the cancel reservation button. One tap, just one. And it would all be undone, but I didn't touch it yet. I reached for the bank app next. The final tuition installment had cleared. Every cent. I had done what they asked, and then some, but still not real family. I opened the message again. Don't come, don't come, don't come. The words thudded like a heartbeat in my skull. I didn't text back. I didn't scream or cry or throw the phone across the room. I just stared at it until my chest went numb. Then I got up, walked to the kitchen, opened the laptop. One click, tuition refund requested. Another, airline cancellation processed. I closed the lid slowly, wiped my face with the back of my hand, and sat at the table in silence. 12:09 a.m. A text lit up my phone, this time from Amelia. Why didn't you come? I waited. My fingers hovered, then moved. Ask Mom why. She said I'm not family. 20 minutes later, a knock, not the soft kind, the furious kind. I opened the door. Amelia stood there, her suitcase beside her, hair damp from the rain, eyes wide with disbelief. What did she say? She demanded. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, lips trembling. She said what? She told me not to come, I said, that the dinner was for real family. Amelia's face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. I waited for you, she whispered. I saved you a seat. My throat burned. I know. She picked up her suitcase, set it down hard. Then she looked at me, eyes blazing. We're going to end this, she said. And this time I believed her. It was still dark when we left. The city hadn't yawned awake yet. Streetlights flickered over empty sidewalks, and a thin veil of mist clung to the pavement like the world was holding its breath. Amelia rolled her suitcase behind her, the wheels clicking softly on the concrete. We didn't speak much during the drive. I think we both needed the silence. But when she reached over and squeezed my hand at a red light, I knew everything had changed. She believed me now. She saw it. And that meant something was about to break, either open or apart. Dennis and Marilyn's house looked the same as it always had. Pristine lawn. The same garden gnome by the mailbox. Curtains drawn in a way that felt less like privacy and more like control. We stood at the front door for a moment, both of us staring at it. You ready? I asked. Amelia didn't answer, she just rang the bell. The door opened too fast, like they'd been waiting. Dennis stood there in his robe, blinking as if seeing us in daylight short-circuited his performance. Girls, he said, forcing a smile. This is early. Amelia walked right past him. I followed. Marilyn appeared in the kitchen, robe cinched tight, a mug in her hand. What on earth? You lied, Amelia said, her voice low and firm. To me, to her. She dropped her suitcase by the door like an anchor. Marilyn froze. Amelia, honey, Don't, she snapped. Don't call me that, not after what you said. Dennis closed the door slowly, like he was hoping it might block the confrontation from happening. It didn't. She showed me the text, Amelia continued. The one where you said the dinner was for real family. Marilyn's eyes darted to me, then back to her. That was taken out of context. No, Amelia said. It was perfectly clear. Her hands trembled, but her voice did not. I waited for her, she said. I was proud of you, I wanted you there, I thanked you, and you, she turned to Dennis, you let her pay for everything and then stood by while Mom tried to cut her out like trash. Silence. Marilyn set her mug down, slowly, deliberately. You don't understand how complicated it was, she said. It's not complicated, I said, stepping forward. It's cruel. Dennis finally spoke. We were trying to protect Amelia. She didn't need to get involved in all this financial mess. Amelia laughed, sharp and humorless. I was involved, I just didn't know it. Then she looked at me, and in her eyes I saw it, anger, sadness, but something else too, loyalty. Say it, she told them. Say thank you. Marilyn blinked. Excuse me. Say thank you to Lauren, she repeated, voice rising. Thank her for everything she gave up, for paying my tuition, for taking your coldness and still showing up. Say it now. Dennis cleared his throat. Thank you, Lauren, he mumbled. Louder. Marilyn stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore, but I didn't flinch. Thank you, Lauren, she said tightly. I turned to Amelia. We done, she nodded. We're done. I picked up her suitcase. She grabbed her backpack, and as we walked out the door, Marilyn called after us, You think you're so strong now. But when you fall, don't expect us to catch you. I paused, just for a second, then turned back, calm as ever. I never asked you to catch me, you just taught me how to land. We left without slamming the door. The sunrise was just beginning to break over the city, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. Berlin was softer than I imagined. Not loud and cold like the postcards made it seem, but bright, bustling, and quietly chaotic. The kind of place where strangers didn't smile much, but if they did, it meant something. We found a little flat with slanted walls and a squeaky floor, above a bakery that made croissants so buttery they almost erased every bitter memory. The balcony overlooked a street lined with bicycles and graffiti that looked like art. And in that small space, we started over. No parents. No cold phone calls or guilt-laced silence. Just us. Amelia enrolled in her design program. I picked up remote work again, curled by the radiator with tea and my laptop, listening to her hum while she unpacked paintbrushes and color swatches. Some nights we stayed up late, watching subtitled dramas and eating store-bought ramen. Other nights we sat in silence, sipping wine and just existing. Not as survivors, not as charity cases, but as women, as sisters, as equals. One morning, we sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets, croissants in hand, watching the city wake up beneath us. I think I forgot what peace felt like, Amelia whispered. I nodded. Me too. She turned to me, hair messy from sleep, eyes soft. I still don't know what to say to them. You don't have to say anything, I said. They already said enough. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Do you think we'll ever stop feeling angry? I thought about it. Maybe not, but it doesn't get to be the loudest voice anymore. A pigeon landed on the railing, squawked once, then flew away. We both laughed. And then Amelia said something I didn't expect. I think what saved me wasn't the money or the trip. It was knowing I wasn't alone in that house, that someone else saw it, lived through it, and still wanted me. I blinked fast, heart aching in the best way. We chose each other, I said. She smiled, full and real. And that's the only family that matters.